Hey there everybody, welcome back to Fantasy Inc. My name is Wyeth, and today we are talking about a behemoth in the progressive fantasy genre called Dragonheart. This series has over 22 books in it, but over half of them are free on Audible right now. Let's talk about it. Hey there y'all, I hope everyone is doing well today and trying to stay warm this winter. But we're not here to talk about the weather, it's not an awkward first date. We are here to talk about the series Dragonheart. This one is one for the record books. Now I personally am only in book 6, but y'all know how we do it in this channel. We're going to talk about a spoiler-free review coming up from the front, and on the back half of the video I'll talk some spoilers. So if you have not read this series, don't you worry, my friends. Now with all that said, it's time to give y'all a little bit of a summary to give y'all some interest in this book series. But before I do that, I do want to reiterate that I think out of the 22 books in the series, and it is completed, I will say that, like 18 or 16 or somewhere in that range are free to play on Audible right now. I don't know how long this deal's going on. I don't know if it's a glitch, but if it is, I'm happy as a clam because my goodness, it'd be over $100, $200 in Audible credits that you'd have to pay, and that's not what's going to happen if you do decide that you find some interest in the series. But all right, let's talk about the summary now. Our main character is a regular old Joe stuck on Earth except for one issue. He can only really move his eyes, or his finger, I forgot which one it is. I digress. He had had a terrible accident as a child and grew up from orphanage to orphanage, bullied, picked on, can barely communicate, and he's basically being kept alive by the will of others, and it is not a good existence at the very least. That is until his benefactor comes along, puts him up, gives him some great doctors, and a new technology is coming out, and the doctor in charge of it wants to use him almost as a guinea pig. He decides to go through with the procedure and put the neural network in his head as a buffer between his brain and his body so that he might be able to finally move around like a normal person. As you know, as these things happen in Isekai series, let's just say the procedure doesn't go ideally, and with some complications, we assume, passes away on the table, and he is whisked away to a new, unfathomably big world. And there he is actually put in the body of a freshly born infant, and he is going to grow up as a prince of a kingdom. Now, I'll go ahead and stop it there. Don't want to give too much away. All that is kind of given in the first chapter. But what I will say about this book is it's not all hunky-dory for this young man. No sirree. It is a harsh and staggering journey that our main character, Hadjar, must go on. His life, you think he's starting out as a prince, takes a dark turn pretty early on within the series, and from there he is set on a path for vengeance, for justice, for whatever word you might attribute the act of taking out people that need to be taken out. And oh my goodness, this series is so dang good. Now, there's other cultivation / progressive fantasy series out there that definitely do it justice, but I think this one here is, from what I've read, one of the most true to the genre. Throughout the series, you get to see him really go on a journey for power through beating himself, his soul, his spirit, his body, everything up to gain that power. Because cultivation is not an easy journey, and it does not come free. Now, jumping into the Pro-Con Pro for this series, the first pro, and I think we all can agree here, it's almost free on Audible. So if you're looking for a series that you can really bite your teeth into, it's not just a trilogy or a 6-book series, something that you can actually put a lot of time into, I think the only one you buy in the first 10 is book number 3 or 4, and then up until book 15 or 16, you don't make a purchase. So I don't know about y'all, but free audiobooks are better than paid for audiobooks. So it's something to consider. If y'all are more of a Kindle reader, then I don't know what the situation is there, but I would assume it's most likely a similar basis since I think they are both owned by Amazon. Now, jumping over to the con of the series, and I think I do this all the time with a double-edged sword, but I'll go ahead and stick to my guns here. I just praised it for being a long series. But it is a long series. So the books aren't going to be 22 hours, so they're not wandering in long, but at the same time, it's still a pretty high word count, and that needs to be known in the forefront. There might be sections of the series that won't draw your attention, like the fight scenes will, or the cultivation heavy chapters will, or even the personal interactions will, and it's a very, very large world. So he's got a lot to do and a lot to accomplish. So there are going to be sections throughout any series this long that are not going to jive with every reader. So what I say whenever this happens is get the basis context of what's going on here and skip to the next chapter, skip to the next section, because you don't actually need to know every single word that went into a story to enjoy it. At least that's my opinion. That might be blasphemy to others, but it is something to consider before picking this one up or running into a section where it just might not jive with you. But now it's time to jump over to pro number 2, the last one for the video, and I have to tip my hat to Mr. Klevanski. This series was so beautifully done when it came to world building. I could go on about how fantastic the magic system is or how in-depth the characters are, and all that's true. But the world building in this book series is so out of scope from other books, I feel like. And I mean that quite literally when it comes to the actual size of the world. You learn very early in book 1 that the actual kingdom that our main character from, Hadjar, is the size of basically all of Asia, and it hosts 2 billion people, so it's pretty dang big. And then you look at an actual, not a world map, but a map of their surroundings, and it is basically the size of a city on this map. So the scope and actual grandioseness, I don't think that's a word, but we'll go with it, of this world is humongous. And Klevanski puts the time and the effort to describe the surrounding kingdoms, to describe the species that live on this rock, we assume. We have no idea. The actual lore that goes into these people's beliefs. And he does all that throughout the book series, because you can't put all that in the front, because with the size of this world and how much is actually going on, it's impossible. Unless you want a series that is 500 chapters within book 1. And it's going to be difficult in that case. One actually bit of a tidbit here, if you do the audiobooks, the chapters pick up from book to book. So I'm on book 6 currently, and I think it's chapter 564 is the one I'm on. So I thought that was a fun little tidbit that you might get some interest in. So after 22 books, I'm curious to see how high we get. With all that said though, I hope y'all enjoyed this slight summary / pro-con pro of Dragonheart. I cannot wait to keep going on this series. I'm gonna have to put it down here and there to be able to review other books for y'all, but definitely one I plan on finishing because I'm so enraptured with our main character's journey. It's going to be a long one, as we all know, but I think it is going to be well worth it when we get to the last book. So thank y'all for your time. Stick around for the deep dive. If you have checked this series out before, it's only up to book 6 is going to be my spoiler review, so keep that in mind. But with that said, have a phenomenal rest of your day and stay warm. I think the slogan for this book series should be "Bless his heart," because my goodness, Hadjar has had one of the most difficult journeys a protagonist has had, in my opinion, in a while. Now, what I mean by that is, we look at series like Darrow from Red Rising or Carl from Dungeon Crawler Carl, and we think, my goodness, that's terrible. I don't know how anyone could live through that journey. Wouldn't wish it against my worst enemy here. But I feel like Hadjar's journey has just been a big practical joke that the gods are playing on this young man. They set him up in a kingdom where he was the prince. Yes, it wasn't the biggest kingdom around there, but at the same time, if he was just going to stay there for the rest of his life, it wasn't going to be a bad life. He was going to marry a nice, wealthy merchant's daughter from around the surrounding areas, potentially get to the true stage of cultivation at some age in his life and, be able to create a family of his own. All that would have been phenomenal, but it wouldn't have made for a good book series. And Mr. Klevanski knew that and decided to not throw a wrench into this situation, but go ahead and put some cement shoes on this young man and tell him to take a swim. At least that's what it feels like when I read through it, because my goodness, this kid is gone through so much, and if he didn't have such an iron will, or at least book one, a stone will, he would not have made it out of the capital. I think that this series has definitely put a lot of other cultivation series in perspective for me. Now, there's a lot of great ones out there. My favorite up until this point has been Defiance of the Fall. It's very much of a mix between lit RPG and cultivation. Another phenomenal one that I love is Unintended Cultivator. I believe that's what it's called, or Accidental Cultivation. Something along those lines, it's right there. And that is a phenomenal one. Can't wait to review that one on the channel. But this one here is taking it so much farther and deeper than I thought other books could go in the cultivation journey. And I think he almost does that through quantity. Not to say the quality is bad at all, but when you have 22 books to fill, it is a long, long journey, and my goodness, the author does not disappoint here. Jumping into some of the specifics about this series, and what I really did enjoy is, at least, and again, spoiler warning if you have not checked the series out, Hadjar got his vengeance. He got his justice in the end of book 3, at least when it came to his family. But he's not let that fire go out in him. He definitely thought about it. When he was sitting at the bottom of that river after killing his uncle, who had taken his family from him, after such a long and perilous journey, working his way up through the army, becoming a general, taking over the surrounding kingdoms around him, he'd come back and turned every stone over and was able to figure out who had taken these steps against him and his family. And he did it. He fought a true cultivator and won, but he paid a price for it. And I feel like that is the epitome of this journey. His goal after beating his uncle is to make sure that the weaves of fate can be rewritten and he can bring back his family, his mother, his father, his brother Nero, and his sister-in-law Sarah. And oh my goodness, that was heartbreaking there. Dang, I really did love the first 3 books of this series. They are a perfect conclusion, and if the author wanted to just stop it there, right, and he died and became a martyr at the bottom of that river, he definitely could have, but he saw that Hadjar's journey wasn't over. It wasn't just his uncle who had taken his family away from him, but the gods themselves. And it feels like we're back in the Odyssey or something, because he's on a mission now to obtain his justice from them. And you realize how far his journey was in up to book 3, right? Where he almost has gotten to be a true cultivator. Not there just yet, but he's almost there. And we don't even know what the finish line looks like comparatively. I'm on book 6 now, or book 7, or one or the other, and we're realizing that still we don't know what the finish line looks like. We keep getting snippets of this is what comes after being a cultivator, and then you're a spirit, and then you're a nameless, but what comes after being a nameless? And he has to keep going from country to country, to different lands, to different biome here, and fighting Lord knows what in the process to be able to get stronger. And it's not an easy journey for him. He's not going to be able to cultivate just like everybody else does. But for some reason, the fates keep giving the man that wants to take them out opportunities to grow stronger. Whether that's them trying to squash a bug before it gets big enough to do damage to them, or if they see a change in the pattern, we will find out. But oh my goodness, I really do enjoy this series. Book 5 was a little tough for me. I felt like it was on the slower side, or maybe I wasn't connecting to the story as much, so I did skip around a little bit there. But once we got to book 6, y'all know I'm a sucker for a school arc, and we did get a little bit of that there. But now, in book 7, we'll see what is happening in the future. I have high hopes for this series, like I mentioned on the forefront of this video, and I cannot wait to see where this author takes Hadjar on his journey, because I gotta say, a lot of it has been out of nowhere, and I have not expected many of the surprises along the way, which is what I love to see in a series that's keeping me captivated. I'm gonna put it up as a pillar of the progressive fantasy genre once I finish it, if it stays on this trajectory. I'll probably do another video once I complete this series, so stay tuned for that one as well. But with that said, if you have checked this series on out, I would love to see your thoughts in the comments below. Telling what you loved about it, telling what you hated. Let's try to keep spoilers to a minimum, or at least give a warning here beforehand. But again, I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of your day, and to be sure to keep reading.